Good evening, viewers. This is Media Track on CCR TV, where we look at the big stories of the past week. I'm Devika Sequeira, and with me is my colleague
Ashley do Rosario.
Well, there are 4 stories this week that we will focus on because, we'll move away from the coronavirus, at least in the beginning. The big story of this past week is Governor Satyapal Malik's transfer. Within just 10 months, he is transferred to Meghalaya. And the Times of India headline for that story was Governor Malik, who became voice of Goans in 10 months, is transferred to Meghalaya. Now he's been replaced with the governor from Maharashtra, Bhagat Singh Koshyari, who is obviously only a temporary measure till the center decides whom to send to Goa. The second story we would like to focus on is the rave party that happened in Vagator, and despite the lockdown, foreign nationals have stayed back, says Herald, and so the crime branch is probing the links with the Arpora late night party, which were frankly not too many drugs and drugs of that much this was found, but there were a lot of links to politicians because the organizer of the rave party had been photographed with lots of politicians in Goa. The third story we would like to focus on is that the National Green Tribunal has asked the Goa government to notify 46.11 square kilometers as private forest. Now that will have some bearing on people who own forested area, private owners of forested land. The fourth story, of course, is that Goa is ranked 7th among states with under 100 urban local bodies, but it is ranked 7th only, among other cities. It's been sort of classified as a city and it comes 7th. That's quite down the rank, if you ask me, actually, for cleanliness. Now, starting with the Malik story, Satyapal Malik, obviously his criticism of the Chief Minister had a lot to do with his transfer. How do you view it, Ashley?
Devika, I see it in two lights. Number one is, I don't think the BJP central leadership is in any mood to kind of punish Malik for the simple reason that he played a crucial role in the Kashmir.
Yeah.
Crucial role in the sense, crucial role to propagate what the Sangh Parivar and abrogating Article 370 and stuff like that. And also, when the Kashmir government of Mufti lost majority when BJP withdrew power, withdrew support, and they were in talks with the National Conference. He did not entertain them, and the excuse he gave was the fax machine in the Raj Bhavan wasn't working.
Right.
So it's not that he's a great saint.
No, he's not in the least.
But in the context of Goa, he did make a few public statements that likened him to the general public, number one. And obviously his transfer is a fallout of this kind of public spat that was going on between the Chief Minister and him. What it in effect politically does is sends a signal out that the central BJP leadership is not inclined to touch Pramod Sawant at the moment. Yeah,
so the thing is that, there was a lot of embarrassment for the BJP that, their chief minister was being criticized by the governor who found fault, and, his words were quite harsh. In my 50 years of political life, I've never criticized the press because the chief minister told the press that the governor had criticized the press and said the press was misrepresenting his handling of the coronavirus. So then a lot of other things. He criticized him for saying that people are dying just because they have comorbidities, of coronavirus. So he said if a cancer patient gets COVID and he's sent to the COVID hospital, he's he's treated. This cannot continue, was what he said. And then he said the government had erred in taking the correct decisions and had warned the chief minister that Delhi was keeping a close watch on Goa's COVID situation. These are some of the remarks he made, and he has left, but he got quite a sort of a lot of public reaction. So, the public blamed the chief minister for the governor's transfer, saying the state has lost a ray of hope. And the Congress said Malik is transferred as he exposed the government's working, and the Goa Forward said the move was expected as BJP hates the truth. So the governor, Ashley, he was giving sort of, the public wide berth. They were welcome to Raj Bhavan, which is quite unusual in recent years. Recent years, especially after the lady who preceded him. The Raj Bhavan, Mridula Sinha, Raj Bhavan was the gates were sort of more or less shut to the public. Though she allowed, tourists were allowed to see the place. They've
started that scheme where tourists pay a certain amount and they get to watch.
Yeah, but the governor had become a hot favorite with opposition and NGOs who approached him and talked to him and took their complaints directly to him, bypassing literally the chief minister.
Yeah, but Devika, in the scheme of things, the role of the governor in daily governance and routine governance is very, very limited, as you and I know. Yeah. He comes into the picture, that office comes into the picture at the time of government formation or government dethroning or whatever that is, which is happening a lot in the country in these recent years. From the time the Prime Minister Modi and the Home Minister Amit Shah have been taking control of the BJP affairs in the country. So, apart from the very feel-good factor that the governor, initiated here with his pro-populist sentiment kind of statements, is limited to that.
That's true. Yeah. Now to look at this other story, Ashley, that Goa has actually, ranked only 7th among small states in Swachh Sarvakshan. So that's the Times of India says Goa's lackluster performance in the nationwide Swachh Sarvakshan 2020 cleanliness and survey continues with the state being slaughtered. Now, shouldn't we, such a small state, have been at least, ranked first, second, and all these smaller sort of things, the smaller, these smaller places like Ponda, Kumkalin, Kankon, Kushoren, they've got such bad ratings. Mapsa took the 235th position. So you can imagine how bad we are.
Yeah, even Panjim is 200 plus.
Okay, right. So where are we failing? Who's responsible for this? Is it the government? Is it the Swachh mission? Who exactly is responsible for bringing out this cleanliness thing? Is this the same as the Imagine Panjim project, or is that a separate project?
That's a separate project altogether. So this, Devika, basically is the responsibility of the local bodies. Yeah. For example, the general cleanliness in Panjim is the responsibility of CCP.
Right.
But then again, Devika, the problem here is that these local bodies have always been robbed of their powers by the state government.
That's true.
Number one, Panjim is a corporation.
Yeah.
But it's just a corporation in name.
Yeah.
It's the same as the Panjim Municipal Council that used to be there before it was made the corporation.
Yeah.
Because it has no powers over the roads in its jurisdiction. It has no powers over the electricity department in its jurisdiction, which is not the case in other corporations.
Yeah.
In Mumbai, for instance.
Yeah.
The reason why Mumbai managed to control COVID in Dharavi is because the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation has all the powers and it used its powers.
Right.
Whereas in Goa, the CCP, just makes a few noises here and there when there's something happening in the Panjim market about COVID. And then it disappears because it does not have the powers.
But just now, Ashley, just look at the rankings. Indore tops the rankings 4th time in a row. Then you have Navi Mumbai, which has improved this year to become the 3rd cleanest city in India. And the 2nd is Surat, which has jumped to 2nd position from 14th. I mean, they could do it. Now, the point I want to make to you is that if you remember, Michael Lobo, who is Minister for Waste Management, etc., he took a delegation this time. I don't know where they went, to Sweden, to Norway, to some far-off place.
This is exactly the problem.
Why didn't they go to Indore to see how they're handling it?
Some of the cities that they have to visit and see. Even Bangalore, for that matter, they have managed their garbage so well with kind of populations they have, which is 10 times, 15 times population of Goa. So they don't have to go to European countries or to the West or to the first world nations to see how garbage is managed. They have to go to these cities because the conditions are the same. As you know, the solid waste that we produce every day has a lot of decayable stuff, lot of protein content. So it decays faster because of the weather conditions. We are much warmer climes, and it decays faster than in Europe or in the West. So it does not make sense using technology that they use.
To go there to find out what's going on.
We need to check what Bombay is doing. We need to check what Bangalore is doing. We need to check what Indore is doing or what Mysore is doing.
Right. So, this after 23 years, the case of in the National Green Tribunal, which had been put by the Goa Foundation, has finally come to an end. And even though the government had challenged the order, the court said that no, this is final and there will be no. So what exactly is this about, Ashley?
Devika, it goes back to, I think, 2001, if I'm not mistaken. When that whole report done by the former agriculture director.
It started as early as 1997 apparently.
That's when that committee was formed to demarcate private forests.
Savant committee. The Savant committee.
Before the Savant committee, there was the Karapurkar committee. Okay. So the Karapurkar was the guy who was director of agriculture in Goa for a long time.
And who was Savant?
Savant was a judge, I think. Who was appointed to, take the material that was done by the Karapurkar committee and come with a final report. So the thing was that, the government of the day then said, we accept this report, but there needs to be minor changes, and they appointed, I think, a bureaucrat, D'Souza, to kind of, do a physical survey based on the Savant report of the lands that are identified as private forests and see which can be excluded and which cannot be excluded. So he came up with another report, which the government finally accepted.
Okay, so this report apparently excluded some 4.91 square kilometers.
Yes, from the Savant report.
From the Savant report, so it would have come down. But
so that was challenged by Goa Foundation. That was challenged by Goa Foundation because obviously there was. It appeared to be a decision of favoritism to the people who owned that.
But there was some reaction from some politicians, and Francis Sardinia, who is the South Goa MP, he seemed to favor the private forest owners and said that the government should acquire private forests as landowners will suffer. And as you were saying, the value of the land will go down.
I quite agree with him. He's not objecting to the judgment as per se. What he is saying is the private landowners of the lands, forested lands, which are covered under this report, are definitely going to be affected by this judgment.
That's right.
So the government should step in to compensate that. That's the argument he's putting.
That's true. And
which I think was a submission made by Goa Foundation as well. In their petition. Because their argument was, Goa Foundation's argument was that forested areas have to be preserved.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if that decision is going to affect certain private individuals, those individuals have to be compensated, which is fair.
That's right. Now, to come to the story on the rave parties, the Chief Minister has been making these statements that, the police will take action, etc. Now, a lot of politicians have appeared in photographs with the main accused. What was his name?
Kapil Javeri.
Kapil Javeri, who claimed to be a Bollywood actor.
He is. He's a small-time Bollywood actor.
He was. Okay. And Kapil Javeri has been in photographed with everybody, including the Chief Minister, I think even with Digambar Kamath, with Khalap.
And with Gaude.
With Govind Gaude. And so there was, this massive kind of outpouring of anger in the social media, and of course the opposition made capital of it. So the government has said it has zero tolerance for drug trafficking. Now the thing is that the foreigners involved in this, 6 Russians and 1 person each from Mexico, Czech. So this actually follows quickly on the heels of another party. That happened in Arpora. This one was in Vagator in a private residence. And that one happened in Arpora, and so are we still, a party scene in spite of this coronavirus pandemic playing out here?
Devika, let us be, honest about it. Narcotics has been part of Goa's tourism from the time it started.
Yeah.
Okay. The 70s, as you would know better than I know, okay, when this whole flower children thing started in Anjuna, it was all drug related,
Right.
So it's nothing new. You are also quite experienced in doing a few of these investigative crime stories from the north, and you will be aware that it has been part and parcel of Goa's tourism bouquet from the 70s. And if any government has been claiming that it has this scene in its grip, it is lying. Because there can't be such a situation without logistic support from the establishment.
Right. Okay. So your paper, the Goan, actually had this story which quoted Michael Lobo saying that there are rave parties are going on regularly in Goa, and he's the MLA of Kalangut, so obviously he should know. And then there was this demand from Goa Forward that the Chief Minister should resign because one of the accused in the rave party, Kapil Javeri, had met the Chief Minister. And so this sends out the wrong message to the police that the man is protected, etc. And then, of course, the Congress said the Bollywood stars brought by BJP to promote drugs. But I think, there's a lot missing here, and the missing link, according to me, is the police, which they really do not know much about the drugs in circulation.
True.
They need to be educated.
They need to be educated, and they need to build an intelligence unit, which has been missing from the Goa police as far as the narco trade is concerned for decades. Okay. Now, I think my perception or my observation is that this kind of a busting of a rave party happened only because we have a change of guard.
Right. A change of guard, you're saying, at the police level?
Yes.
Okay.
So every time you have a change of guard at that high level, that system which is in place gets shaken up a bit. And in that kind of a situation, you have this guy, some guy who's trying to prove himself. Even if it is for limited time.
There was an interesting statement made by Vijay Sardesai of Goa Forward. He said that had those photographs of these people who of the organizer, etc., come out before, perhaps these people would have never been raided. Had they known that they knew so many politicians, they perhaps wouldn't have been raided.
This
I
statement,
thought that was quite an interesting.
Yeah, this statement coming from a person like Vijay Sardesai, who has been part of the system at the highest level.
Yeah,
we need to look at it as possibly very true. One of the reasons why these, what do you call them? These middlemen that pose for pictures with these top politicians is to kind of send a signal to the bureaucratic setup or to the police setup that, hey, look, man, I am powerful. I am close to these politicians. So when you touch me, you be careful. That's the message these guys send by posing for these photographs at public functions or even at private functions and put it out in the public domain. So Vijay Sardesai's statement, I think, is quite true.
Yeah, that is quite correct. Well, to come to the coronavirus story, actually, if you recall, there was a story in Herald which said that the state is buying COVID-19 medicines and equipment at skyrocketing prices, and that story came out on Thursday, and on Friday there was a follow-up on that story, and they quoted the health minister Vishwajit Rane reacting, and he said that when these purchases were made, they were made when there was an urgency and we had no supplies, and that is why they bypassed the system of the finance department, vetting the whole purchases. Now, what is the truth in this?
Devika, a similar story is being played out at the center.
Okay.
As far as the PM Cares, the controversial PM Cares fund is concerned, which they have bought or they have ordered 50,000 ventilators. And the argument is that they've bought a ventilator. They've bought ventilators that are costing 2.5 lakhs for 4.5 lakhs. So it is a very tricky situation. Like, if you take the argument of Vishwajit Rane, there is a point. There is a point in what he's saying, because when the ventilators were needed,
at that time they were very costly.
There were no supplies.
Right.
Okay, they were not enough. If you needed 50,000, the market had only 20,000. So obviously the prices would be high at that point. So it needs this story needs further scrutiny. It's a good story, no doubt about it. But it needs further scrutiny at that level. And what surprised me is that although we needed those ventilators then, and they were ordered, they never came.
I see. Okay.
They never came in time.
Okay.
So I don't know whether they have those safeguards in the order that they made, that if you do not supply these ventilators that at the prices you have quoted,
and
on the date,
give us,
on the date that they are being supplied,
you should give us
that
whatever
concession,
the concession should have been there.
I think that safeguard. I hope that safeguards
if the story is true, this is really a lack of basic morality, that in a time like this, somebody is still sort of there are still kickbacks flying around or whatever one can deduce from that story. But there was another very interesting story in your paper which talked of though the COVID toll mounts, the amounts, but deaths audit panel still eludes Goa. So what exactly is this about? Are you saying that a panel to actually examine how these deaths came about?
Yes,
who are the people?
yes. So basically, these state governments elsewhere, in Maharashtra, in Kerala, in Delhi, most of the West Bengal, they have appointed this COVID deaths audit committee.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think the genesis of that goes a few years back, where the Supreme Court directed that every state should have this death audit committee for infectious diseases.
Yeah.
Because infectious diseases is something that spreads. So
Right.
if you know why deaths are happening for a particular disease, you know what precautions to take to prevent deaths.
Right.
So, and especially in this COVID disease, where the science is so uncertain,
Right.
where the medical science is so uncertain, I think it is very necessary that the Goa government appoints this death audit committee, so that each case of death is investigated based on the case sheets, based on what regimens were given to that patient, and so that future strategies can be based on that.
So there was a story on Friday in the Times of India which said that 1 in 3 COVID fatalities suffered chronic kidney illness. Now the thing is, the story is very good and it quotes sources. Now my point is, this is now such a huge issue. Why are sources? It should come out as officially statements, and it
now
should be widely shared.
I know that the idea of the story is good. I don't know whether the story is good, for the simple reason that all this information is not deciphered by an expert.
Right.
It is deciphered by a journalist.
Right.
There's a problem there as far as COVID is concerned. It's very easy to just take statistics and just take circumstances and come up with some conclusions. But when you do it scientifically, that's what is important.
Exactly. So what we are lacking right now is really scientific information that should be disseminated to the public. That would help us fight the pandemic better. Well, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for watching, and do stay in touch and download the app.